Let's talk about stitching with stretchy materials. I have some tips and tricks for you to get better results, and for the ones that haven't tried it yet, to start with more confidence. So stretchy materials often don't ravel, so you don't have to finish the edges if you don't want to. You can stitch. So in that way, sewing with stretchy materials can be a lot quicker than with woven cotton, for example. A lot of people just use their overlock or serger machine for sewing with stretch materials. I'm not focusing on that today. I'm just sewing with my regular machine, but you have to know that a serger is great for knit fabrics. Always pre-wash your fabric because they can shrink as well, and sometimes even more than woven fabrics. So when you're laying your fabric flat to copy your pattern, make sure that the direction of the stretch, where it stretches the most, is in like crosswise your body, so not in top down. And if you have fabric with like these little V's that most jerseys have, the V's have to go down. So when you're marking on stretch materials, I like to use soap slivers, just a little piece of soap. It slides smoothly over the fabric. I get the best results just with this little piece of soap. And when I'm cutting the fabric, I like to use my rotary cutter and cutting mat because I get more accurate results and I don't have these jagged edges, and I'm not stretching the material while I'm cutting. If you have really difficult material, I would advise you to strengthen the fabric a bit. You can use different kinds of stabilizer. You have stabilizers that stretch a lot, a little, 2 ways, 4 ways. You have these strips that you can use for seams that are fusible on one side or on 2 sides. And for the shoulder seams, you can use these strips that are strengthened with a little thread. I'm not using needles on stretch fabrics because they can damage the fabric, so I'm using these clips. Or when it's really difficult, I just baste the material a little. But you have to be careful because you're working with a needle and you might damage the fibers. When you're sewing, don't pull or push the fabric. Just keep it relaxed and let the feed dogs do their job. I put my stitch length to 3 and in a zigzag stitch, a really small zigzag stitch, so 0.5 zigzag. So it's almost straight. With certain fabrics, this works. With other fabrics, you might have to adjust your machine settings. So there's also the pressure that gives the presser foot onto the fabric, that with a lot of machines you can adjust this. So have a look in your manual how this works, because it's very different for every type of machine. Another option, if you're not satisfied with the results, is to change your presser foot. So you can opt for a walking foot or a knit foot. The walking foot is in our Big 5 set, but you can buy it separately as well. And this is baby. It has upper feed dogs that move the fabric evenly. So if you have a problem with the fabric being bunched up and the top not moving like the bottom, this might be a solution. So it's a screw-on foot. The arm goes on the needle bar, and this requires a little screwing. And the other foot I want to show you is the knit foot. It's the number 19 in the Ultimate Presser Foot set. It has this long arm that sits above the needle bar as well, and it makes little jumps on your fabric. So it also makes sure that your fabric isn't bunching up. So I'll show you. So I'm putting on the knit foot, which is a snap-on foot, so you have to put on your presser foot holder again. What's important is that the little arm that sits on now my right side is above the needle bar. What is also important when you're sewing stretchy materials is using a stretch needle or a jersey needle. A jersey needle is a ballpoint needle, and a stretch needle has also a little rounded top, but there's a difference. The eye of the needle is higher up in a stretch needle, so it makes larger loops, and that gives more stretch. And when it comes to the stitches, I told you could use a little zigzag, but if your machine has specialty stretch stitches, you can also try these for your stitching. And then last but not least, if you're hemming, don't double fold. Don't use double folded hems. Use a single folded hem. The material is not fraying, so there's no problem. And the best results, if you want a result like in apparel or ready-made clothes, I would use, people are using double needles. A double needle is this, and on the top it makes 2 rows of even stitching, and at the bottom you get a zigzag stitch. So you'll need 2 sets of threads, and then you can choose a straight stitch and a normal stitch length, 3 I would suggest. With the double needle you may have to adjust your thread tension a bit, because if the thread tension is not good, you will make a little tunnel in between the 2 rows of stitching. So to avoid that and have a nice flat hem, test first, and what you can also do is stabilize the hem a little. So that's it for today. I hope these tips will help you sewing with your stretchy fabrics. There's a lot of more information on our blog with some explanation on different kinds of stretchy fabrics and different kinds of knits. So if you're not sure what kind of fabric you have, be sure to check that out. Bye!